Students around the nation exercise their First Amendment right to protest school policies. But what happens to student voices when their protests bring them to court?
Oh yay, oh yay, oh yay.
These high school students are about to find out at a fictional but realistic appellate hearing before Chief Judge Merrick Garland.
Let's say you wore a t-shirt that says, "I love my school." That's all. Is that banned?
I don't believe so, sir. That's a little bit different.
So you're saying it's not really all slogans of any kind, it's just some kinds, controversial kinds.
Chief Judge Garland of the U.S. Court of Appeals in the District of Columbia presides over a dress code case that goes to the heart of free speech. What can schools ban, and can students be punished for protesting?
Some people did walk out during class, though. Isn't that right?
Yes.
All right. Well, why didn't that materially disrupt the classroom?
Student judges join Chief Judge Garland asking questions from the bench and from the gallery.
This is for the school. How do you expect students to go to a school and not be able to voice their opinion?
In what ways did the school consider students' input when formulating the dress code?
I don't think the school did at all. They prohibited apparel with messages or slogans that students could voice of any kind, and I believe that that's unconstitutional.
I didn't know that I actually would be going up there. I felt so large and powerful sitting up there watching people looking at me, trying to hear what questions I have.
I think a starting point for everyone is just respect. You have to respect your peers, your friends, your opponents, just everyone. When we have a mutual respect, it's easier to have this discourse, and it's easier for the discourse to be civil.
Are the students' rights violated?
Before the proceedings begin, volunteer lawyers work with the student judges. Their goal is to develop the best questions for the student attorneys during oral arguments.
When I was putting the questions together, it was interesting, and I had to take a moment to just stop and just think and say, okay, what's a question that everybody else will want to ask or think about?
We're trying to develop the ability to look at a situation like Judge Garland did and bring in other things that are comparable but make a point. And to be able to look at something and not only looking at it from this angle, but looking at it from here and here. And in doing so, you get a better picture.
This student exercise features a special treat, words of encouragement from Beth Tinker. In 1965, Tinker wore a black armband to school to protest the Vietnam War. Her case went all the way to the Supreme Court.
There's a way in our democracy that people have spoken up to make our democracy more in line with the ideals of equality and justice. And kids have always been very, very powerful in taking us towards those ideals.
In Tinker v. Des Moines, the Supreme Court ruled 7-2 that wearing a black armband to protest was Tinker's right. In the majority opinion, Justice Abe Fortas wrote, "It can hardly be argued that either students or teachers shed their constitutional rights to freedom of speech or expression at the schoolhouse gate."
She's so inspirational, and Chief Judge Merrick Garland is the chief judge. We did go over her case in school, and it just fuels the spirit as me being a student who's about to go out into the real world. I have a voice too.
When the student attorneys finish their arguments and answer all the questions, it is time to deliberate and render a decision. Most of the student judges agree that students do have a First Amendment right to protest. It's the severe consequence of suspension that divides their ultimate decision.
Who's in favor of a demerit would have been okay, but this punishment is not okay? It sounds like the majority opinion will probably say, under these circumstances, that the school violated rights by this punishment, but could have chosen a lesser punishment that would have been valid.
So they learn that just because they don't agree or they don't like something, there's merit to the argument. And that's the important thing here.
When you go to these courtrooms, you go to these courts of appeals, and these are places where lawyers, advocates, and people go when they advocate for the rights that they think are important to them. These institutions are for we the people.
Students have a voice. When it isn't heard in the classroom, it may be heard in the courtroom.
We're in an age where young people are starting to realize that we can speak up. It's relevant in my life because it's things that affect me and affect the people around me.
When an issue is difficult to resolve, the courts are there to hear the arguments, weigh the facts, and rule as a matter of law under the Constitution.
You all did a great job, and I think that the court is adjourned. What happened to my crier? In that case, court's adjourned.